Sun. It takes sunlight an average of 8 minutes to reach the Earth. The Sun is one of the 100 billion stars of our Milky Way galaxy. In 8 billion years, the Sun will bloat up to 256 times its current size, and it will expand to consume the Earth's orbit. Sun.
Such a wonderful warm day. That is all because of a small but very bright circle in the sky, the Sun. The Sun is a star that is very, very far away from us. It is so huge that it weighs 700 times more than all the planets together, and so hot it can melt a diamond. Because it's so heavy, the Sun is pulling on all of the planets and is making them rotate around it. It takes our planet 365 days to make a full circle. That's 1 year. The Sun is the main source of energy for all life on Earth, and we wouldn't be here without it. There are trillions of stars just like the Sun in the universe. Many of them have planetary systems just like ours. And maybe on one of them, there is life.
Mercury. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. It is also the closest to the Sun. Mercury has no atmosphere. Most of the craters on Mercury were named after famous writers and artists. Mercury.
This is Mercury, the smallest planet in the solar system and one that is closest to the Sun. In size and appearance, it is similar to the Moon. Perhaps a long time ago, it used to be a satellite of Venus. Mercurial daily life looks rather strange. One day lasts over 2 years. The Sun is 3 times bigger than it is on the Earth. And during the day, it changes its size and can even move in different directions. Such a long day leads to extremely hot temperatures on the surface, and at night, with no heat or atmosphere, it becomes terribly cold. But at a depth of only 3 feet, this difference is not felt, and the temperature always remains the same. The best time to see Mercury is in the evening when it is just above the horizon. At this time, it shines brighter than all the stars in the sky, but soon disappears following the Sun.
Venus. Venus is the third brightest object in the night sky, seen from Earth after the Sun and Moon. As Venus rotates very slowly on its axis, a day on Venus is longer than the whole year. In mythology, Venus was the Roman goddess of love and beauty. Venus.
Meet Venus, the second planet from the Sun. It is very similar to the Earth. It too has an atmosphere, and it is roughly the same size and weight. But unlike other planets, Venus rotates in the opposite direction, and very slowly. The surface of Venus is hidden under a thick layer of clouds, and scientists have sent a research apparatus to study it. It flew there for a whole 4 months, but couldn't even hold out for 2 hours. The device exploded in the atmosphere, because the pressure on Venus is almost 100 times greater than on Earth. Also, Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system, because a thick, 20-kilometer layer of clouds of sulfuric acid and a dense atmosphere of carbon dioxide keep in the sun's rays, creating a greenhouse effect. Over there, on Venus, it is always twilight, and acid rain is constantly falling, with raging hurricanes and lightning storms and erupting volcanoes.
For a long time, people believed that the Earth was flat and rested on 3 elephants who stood on a turtle who swam in an ocean. The Earth has an invisible shield, the magnetic field, that protects us from dangerous cosmic radiation. The highest point of our planet is Everest, and the lowest is the Mariana Trench. Earth.
In the midst of the vast number of stars and galaxies, there is a tiny blue dot. It is our home, the planet Earth. The Earth is the third planet from the Sun, and for now, the only known place that has life. The Earth rotates on its axis. That is why we see day change to night. This axis is tilted and is always pointed in one direction, towards Polaris. Because of this tilt, the Earth positions its sides toward the Sun differently in each season. When solar rays fall straight, it gets hotter and summer comes. If the rays fall at an angle, the heat is lower and winter comes. Significant areas of our planet are covered with oceans. The largest of them is the Pacific Ocean, and it is bigger than all the continents combined. The Earth is inhabited by millions of species, underwater, on the ground, and in the air, and they are all connected with each other. Our home is a fragile organism, and we should treat it very carefully.
Moon. The moon's gravitational force pulls on water in the ocean. The moon is the only celestial body other than Earth on which humans have currently set foot. The moon is always showing the same face to us. Moon.
Hey kids, here's the Earth. And that's the moon, the satellite of the Earth. That means that it goes around the Earth. That's why we see it travel across the sky, day and night. Though it seems like you can reach it with your hand, it's actually really far away. If we decided to walk to it, it would take us almost 10 years. Or if we took a spaceship, it would only take a day. The Earth is 80 times heavier than the Moon, but things on the Moon are 6 times lighter, so you can easily lift a cow or jump very high. Unlike the Earth, the Moon doesn't have any atmosphere, so it's a little weird there. There's no air, you can't hear sounds, and it gets freezing cold when in the shadow and steaming hot in the sunlight. But in spite of all those problems, the first human lunar colony is only 15 years away. You can come too if you want.
Some comets have tails. In fact, one comet has 6 tails. Comets originate in the Oort cloud, which is situated far beyond the borders of the solar system. Scientists believe that dinosaurs that lived 65 million years ago became extinct due to the collision of the Earth with a comet.
Since ancient times, people noticed bright-tailed stars appeared in the sky just as suddenly as they disappeared. Today, we know that these were not stars. They were comets. A comet is a small celestial body the size of an average city, which consists of ice, rock, and frozen gases. It rushes out of the dark depths of space, remaining invisible for a long time. But when this dirty snowball approaches the sun, it gets heated and forms a bright trail of dust and gas that can stretch for millions of miles. Some comets, like planets, orbit the sun over a period of a few years, but most of them need hundreds, thousands, and even millions of years. For example, the brightest comet of the last century, Hale-Bopp, won't come back to us for 2,000 years.
Which object is closer to the sun? Which object is larger? Which planet has almost no atmosphere? Which object is smaller? Which object is a planet? Excellent. New mission available. Venus, Venus. Sun, Mars. Earth, Mercury. Jupiter, Jupiter. Saturn, Uranus. Neptune. Mars. The planet is named after the god of war, Mars. The names of its moons are translated from ancient Greek as horror and fear. During the Martian winter, Almost 20% of the atmosphere on Mars is frozen. The northern hemisphere is sleek and plain, and the southern is cut with craters. Mars.
Let's meet our closest neighbor, Mars. A Martian year is almost twice as long as on the Earth. That means that it takes Mars twice the time it takes the Earth to go around the Sun. Just like the Earth, Mars has a satellite. Actually, 2 of them. 2 huge, gigantic stones. Every 100 years, one of them, Phobos, gets 6 feet closer to Mars and will eventually fall on the planet. Boom! The surface of Mars is covered with reddish dust. That's why it's called the Red Planet. It has volcanoes. The biggest one is called Olympus and is 3 times bigger than our Mount Everest. It is the biggest volcano in the entire solar system. To learn more about Mars, people have sent robots. These rovers take all kinds of samples and pictures of the planet. Perhaps someday, this distant red dot in the sky will become our new home.
Jupiter. Thanks to the huge size, Jupiter can be seen without a telescope. Jupiter makes strange noises, or so-called electromagnetic voices. Jupiter is 2.5 times more massive than all of the other planets in our solar system combined. Jupiter.
Bright in the sky shines Jupiter. It doesn't emit light of its own. Just like the moon, it only reflects the sunlight. Jupiter is the largest and the heaviest planet of the solar system. It has 67 satellites. The largest of them is even bigger than Mercury. You can't land on Jupiter because it's almost entirely made of gas. Every revolution around its axis takes only 10 hours. This crazy speed causes different atmospheric phenomena, such as hurricanes and storms. One of these hurricanes is the Big Red Spot. It is bigger than the Earth and has lasted for hundreds of years. That's Jupiter, bright and blustering.
Saturn. There is a gigantic cloud hexagon on the northern pole of Saturn. The biggest moon of Saturn is Titan. It's the only moon in the solar system that has atmosphere. The Saturn rings are mostly made of ice particles. Saturn.
Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun and the 2nd largest planet in the solar system. It belongs to the so-called gas giants, which consist mainly of various gases and do not have a solid surface. If you could put Saturn into water, it would float to the surface because hydrogen and helium, which make up a large part of the planet, are lighter than water. Saturn is famous for its rings, which consist of a large number of ice particles, ranging in size from specks of dust to a 3-story house. To ride along one of the rings in a car, we would need a long journey over a year. At the same time, the rings are so thin that if we were on the equator of Saturn, we would not even notice them. Saturn, also known as Lord of the Rings, is the farthest planet that can be seen with the naked eye.
Uranus. Uranus spins on its side. Uranus is an extremely cold planet. Because of the tremendous planetary pressure of Uranus, there could possibly be trillions of large diamonds in or on the surface of this planet. Uranus.
For a long time, people thought there were only 6 planets because they are easy to see in the night sky. Uranus, the 7th planet from the Sun, was discovered much later with a telescope and named after the Greek god of the sky, Zeus's grandfather. Unlike other planets, Uranus rotates on its side. Presumably, it got this tilt from a collision with a large body, the size of Earth. Like Saturn, it has rings, but they are dark and do not reflect light. Together with its brother Neptune, Uranus forms a group of so-called ice giants. Because of their distance from the Sun, light and heat that come to the surface are so scarce that even during the day there is twilight, and it is terribly cold.
Neptune. Neptune is the farthest planet from the Earth. In Neptune's atmosphere, there is a large white cloud that moves around rather quickly. The scooting of this cloud around the atmosphere has led it to be named Scooter. Neptune is a very windy place. Neptune.
After the discovery of Uranus, it took 60 years and a small area of its orbit to notice that there was an unknown object affecting its trajectory. This is the way Neptune, the 8th planet of the solar system, was first predicted and later discovered. A year on Neptune lasts for 168 Earth years. Since its discovery, only 1 year has passed on Neptune. Neptune is 30 times farther away from the Sun than our planet, so it is very cold there. Neptune's atmosphere is primarily composed of hydrogen, gradually turning into the liquid ocean and ice. This is followed by the red-hot mantle and core. The winds on Neptune are the strongest in the solar system. Their speeds sometimes exceed 2,100 kilometers per hour. Neptune is still unexplored and holds a lot of surprises for discoverers.
Hubble. Mars. Hubble. In 15 years of working in space, Hubble has taken over 1 million pictures. With Hubble's help, we've learned that most of the stars in our galaxy are forming planets. Hubble was launched in 1990 and has been working on its orbit for over 20 years. Hubble.
You have probably noticed that the stars don't shine as bright in the city as they do in the country. That's because the city lights are so bright, they outshine the distant light of the stars. That is why it is much better to put telescopes on mountains and far away from big cities. This way, you can see many more stars. But even then, some light gets lost in the atmosphere. That's why scientists decided to send a telescope to space. This telescope is called Hubble, and it helps us uncover wonders we'd never have dreamed of. Taking pictures of different parts of space, it discovered many interesting facts about our universe, found new galaxies, saw nebulae, distant stars, and planets. Every day, Hubble sends 80 gigabytes of data to the Earth, where scientists study it.
Which is closer to Earth? Which object weighs more? Which is hotter? Which has got moons? Which is colder? Excellent. New mission available. The temperature of the star influences its color, so hot stars look blue, whereas cold stars look red. Every year, our Milky Way galaxy gives birth to 5 new stars. Half of the stars in our galaxy are double. This means that 2 stars are so close that from a distance they look like one.
How many stars do you think you can see on a bright, clear day? Wrong! During the day, we can see the sun, which is also a star that is closest to us. When it disappears below the horizon, we can see thousands of stars in the sky, but all of them are only a small part of our galaxy, called the Milky Way. From the ground, it seems that they are all roughly the same size, but that is not true. Among them are neutron stars, brown dwarfs, red and white giants, and even supergiants. In addition, the stars are at such distances from us, it is hard to imagine. The light from the nearest star after the sun travels to us for more than 4 years. There are stars whose light flies 10,000 years, and there are those whose light still travels to us, although they themselves no longer exist.
Polaris. Polaris. Polaris is a giant star that points to the north and is almost motionless on the night sky. Polaris has become brighter in the past 100 years. In 1200 years, the title of pole star will go to Al-Rai.
The stars above us are very beautiful and very useful. Before phones and before the compass, people used the stars to guide their way in travel. Those who live in the northern hemisphere noticed that one bright star is always in the north because it is right above the North Pole. It is called Polaris. To find Polaris, you first need to find the Big Dipper. A straight line drawn through one side of the dipper points to Polaris. So if you stand facing Polaris, in front of you will be the north, behind you the south, the east to your right, and the west to your left. Try to find Polaris. Check yourself with a compass.
Cygnus X1. For the star to become a black hole at the end of its life, it should be 3 times larger than the Sun. At the center of our Milky Way galaxy, there is a supermassive black hole that is 1,000,000 times heavier than the Sun. Some black holes rotate at the speed of 1,000 revolutions per second. Cygnus X1.
Have you ever thought of what happens to stars during their lives? All stars are born huge and very hot. As they live and die, they become smaller and cooler. At the end, a star becomes so tiny, it is called a black hole because it sucks in all the energy around it. It works like a giant cosmic vacuum. It uses gravity to pull in anything around it, be it comets, asteroids, planets, or even rays of light. A black hole is so powerful, it can even change the flow of time. Time near a black hole is much slower than on Earth. It is impossible to see a black hole, but scientists use special tools to look for them and have found about 1,000 so far. One of them is next to a constellation called Cygnus and is called Cygnus X1.
Zodiacal constellations are the 12 constellations that the Sun passes through during the year. Of the 88 celestial constellations, 47 were known to ancient people. There is no place on Earth where you could view all the constellations at once.
The sky is divided into imaginary pieces called constellations. Looking at these triangles and points, the ancients imagined the characters of their favorite myths. Because of Earth's rotation around its axis, the constellations at night do not stand still, but quietly float across the sky. Let's imagine that the Earth is a cabin of a cosmic carousel, and at its center sits a luminous ball, the Sun. If you pass on this slow carousel for a year, We notice that some constellations we see in the fall, others in winter, and different ones in spring and summer. Our planet is thought to be divided along the equator in the northern and southern hemispheres, and each of them, too, has their own starry sky. In the northern hemisphere, you can always see the mysterious Cassiopeia, and in the southern hemisphere, it is difficult to miss the Southern Cross constellation, which has been a guide for many sailors.
Ursa Major. Ursa Major is the third biggest constellation. Its 7 bright stars make the Big Dipper. At the handle's bent, there is a star called Mizar, and next to it, Alcor. In ancient times, people used to check their eyesight with this star. The Big Dipper and Polaris are on the flag of Alaska. Ursa Major.
Have you seen how many stars there are in the night sky? To remember them, people divided them into groups, constellations, and gave them names. One of the most well-known constellations is called Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. It means larger bear in Latin. You can easily find it by 7 bright stars in the shape of a dipper with a long handle. These 7 bright and 200 less bright stars in this part of the sky make up the constellation. According to an ancient Greek legend, there was a girl called Callisto who was turned into a bear because she was so beautiful it made a goddess jealous. When Zeus found out about it, he put her up into the sky to save her from hunters. Besides Ursa Major, there are 87 other constellations.
Orion. The meteor shower Orionids appears twice a year in this constellation. If you draw a straight line through Orion's belt, you will see Aldebaran in the west and Sirius in the east. The legend says that Orion was bitten by a scorpion, and after death, he came to the sky. Orion.
The Orion constellation is on the celestial equator, which means that it is visible from both northern and southern hemispheres. It is easy to find it by 3 lined-up stars, the famous Orion's belt. According to ancient Greek myth, Orion was an unsurpassed hunter. He was very handsome and so tall that people called him a giant. In addition, he is the son of Poseidon, the god of water, and therefore inherited the ability to walk on water. The Orion constellation has many bright stars. 2 of them are Betelgeuse and Rigel, real giants next to our sun. The constellation of Orion is also known for what is inside it. Even with the naked eye, you can see the swirling clouds of nascent stars, luminous gas, and dust, such as the Great Nebula of Orion.
Which one is a natural satellite of the Earth? Which constellation has more stars? Which star is larger? Which constellation is only visible in the northern hemisphere? Which is further from us? Great! Sun, sun.